Good morning, everyone. Eagle X here, and today I have our Friday Market Watch. Got some things I want to cover for current formats, upcoming formats, and just cards to look out for in general with drastic price changes recently. So, first things first, as I did last week, I kind of want to cover the price of booster boxes. As you can see, we're in a pretty healthy spot. You got pre-orders for Next Adventure at $66 basically, and all your other boosters are $70 roughly, give or take. And one I really want to point out is the 1.5 booster. It's $61. And that's with shipping too, I do believe. We click here. Yeah, 56 plus 11 for shipping. 61. Yeah, so it's all shipped, give or take. But for a $61 booster for 1.5, there's a lot of things that you can pull that are actually worthwhile. If you get either the secrets, the Omnimon Ultra, or the Black Greymon regular or alt art, it's a pretty decent pull. You're already getting like $12 for the regular Black Gray. And then the Ultras are both roughly $30. So that's like half your box if you get an Ultras, hypothetically. And then there's lots of pretty desired alt art. Shinegreymon coming up this next set. Got the Imperial, which is used this upcoming set as well with the new EX support. Mastamon still sees play, especially in Dynasmon decks. Craniamon sees play in Black Royal Knights. Ulforce is seeing more play with the Warp Package Vmon now. You got your Davis staples. Like, you just have a lot of good things you can pull. A lot of cards that are above the $5 range. Lots of good staple rares. So you got your Vmons, Lady Debbie's, Davises, Demi-Meras. You got a lot of your expensive purple cards in this set. So, and security control staples. It's definitely the box that if you had to pick a sealed one open, if you want to get a new one this week, it's going to be the box you still want to be opening. Moving on to the next thing. Jazmon is a deck that I expect to see a lot more play now for Nationals, especially with Memory Boost being legal. And the EX cards, I can't remember if there's anything offhand that supports it directly, but I do expect to see this go up. It's a pretty high price SR, and the Jazmon deck as a whole is kind of pricey now. If you like the alt art, go ahead and get it. I think it's pretty fair at roughly $40. You're not going to see it drop by anytime soon, since it still sees play in Japan in their BT8 format. The only thing that might hurt the alt art in the future is if the ban list hits Save Your Huck or other cards that support Jazmon. Anyways, with that being said, I still think it's a decent pickup. Jazmon's an expensive deck. It's very high rolly, but it does have more consistency now with Memory Boost being out. And speaking of staples, you got your Security Attack +1 Greymon. It's going for roughly $20 right now. It's just a premium you have to play if you want to play red. You need 4 copies of this. It makes your OTKs more consistent. Similar to the Red Ties, you're going to have a staple $10 Tamer. He's not as necessary as the Greymon is, but he helps enable an OTK potential with a Jazmon swing, restand, swing, and then Blitz Omni for game with the Greymon tie out. But the box toppers are slightly dropping, so that's pretty cool to see. But anyways, so that is the staples for Red and Jazmon. Now, staples for Gabumon that are kind of pricey right now. Davises, they're thankfully dropping a bit. They're at that $20 mark recently again. But it is still constantly on the rise. This is a Tamer where you're going to want it for the long run. There's no reprints of this Tamer still. We've had lots of cards shown with alternate art printings that are getting recirculated in the Nationals, but Davis is one of those cards that just didn't get reprint any way, shape, or form still. So $13 right now, $14. I think it's worth the pickup. And if you don't have it yet, if you have extra copies, I would hold on to them. These are going to be kind of hard to come by. And then next is your Dash Pack Gabu. The on-play, look for Tamer, top 5. I mean, at most you want 2 copies of this in your deck. If you don't have it, there's other budget alternatives. Is he worth the $14 price tag? He's good for consistency. He helps you find that master guarantee to warp more frequently. But as you can see, like, he's dipping in price. People are not playing him at 4-ofs. It's good, but it's not warranted at the premium price, in my opinion. I would wait until he drops to about $10, and then he might be worth picking up, but I would not stress about getting this card anytime soon. Next is Security Control, another Tier 1 deck that's seeing lots of play. Your Magnet Angemons are going to hold a pretty hefty price for a bit. This is the last format I expect them to be a premium price SR. It'll be good for the Mastodon starter deck that we get in like our BT7 format, I think is what it is, or in the BT7. But if you're wanting to play Scary Control, you got to pick up staples. It's going to be the same thing I'm saying. If you want to play Tier 1 decks, you have to pick up the core staples for the decks. And this is just one of them. And the Parathit is worth the feat. He's at a reasonable price for a secret that's flexible in multiple decks. He's roughly $60 here. Altart 77, nothing outrageous. And I don't ever see him really getting hit. He's not a problematic card on his own that really makes one deck overperforming in any way, shape, or form. And then moving on, we're looking at future formats. Shinegreymon. We know Yellow Hybrid is going to be a really big player next set. Shines are 5s right now. Pick up your copies if you don't have them yet and you want to play Yellow Hybrid. Altart's 26. I think that's pretty reasonable. It's probably around the cap of like $35 if I had to guess. But Shinegreymons, make sure you pick them up if you don't have them. And to pair with Shinegreymon, Yellow Tamers. We got a few Yellow Tamers. I emphasized TK last week at $5. I think he's worth picking up. He's still a 4 of Tamer. Your other 4 of Tamer is going to be the TK and Kari Tamer. And then after that's a Zoe. We don't have her out yet. She's in the next set, so you can't really invest in her. But I would definitely look at getting your TK Kari pre-release stamps if you like max rarity. A lot of builds also run the Kari Tamer. I don't think she sees as much relevance, but she's one of those flex spots you could get. She's pretty darn cheap for an alt-art and a box topper. So if you want to get them, definitely get them now, because they're only going to see an increase in price next set. Then moving on, the other deck that I really think people are sleeping on is Red Hybrid. When you get the Analog Boy combo, you get your Wombo combo, you can cleave for all 5 security in one turn if you have like optimal stack. You want to make sure you pick these up if you want to play the deck. The alt-arts are probably towards the upper end for what I see them going. 50 to 55-ish, 50-ish is where I expect it to stop going up. Ancient, I can see these going up to 35, 40-ish, kind of like the Garurus did right before we had the Gabubon decks coming out for our set. And you can see that was like a hyped up deck that kind of didn't live up to expectations as much. But Ancient Grey is a deck I do expect to hold up to a lot more expectations for everyone playing the deck. And to go with Ancient Grey, you have the Aguni promo. Guys, this card is dirt cheap for a promo in this game, especially for a promo that will be very relevant for a good deck. And you can see there's a slight uptick here. You want to pick up your copies now if you don't have them. They're very reasonable at $7 a copy. So that is going to be my big advice. Pick up your goonies. Then also next set, Alphamon. He sees more play with the X antibody support. I'm doing refreshes here because I loaded this last night. He's $20 a copy now. It's better than the 18 he was last week. He's still super cheap for a secret. So this is one of those cards I would pick them up if you don't have them yet also. The Altar, on the other hand, it's probably at the price it's going to cap out at, in my opinion. 45, 50 is the highest I really see it. You have to think about like alt-art secrets that see competitive play. Zwart Defeat's like a $70-ish staple, but he's used in multiple decks, while X antibody stuff, Alphamon is only used in black. Lilithmon's SR, that was like a $50 to $70 alt-art SR. It was very desired too. It had a purple premium tax to it. So with that being said, like I kind of see this being close to the cap for where it'll go for the alt-art. So if you want to pick them up, pick them up. But the regular Alphamons, I think, are worth picking up right now. To pair with it, Shinegreymon promos. This card does not really go away ever. It's kind of relevant. I mean, it's going down right now because black's not being played a lot. But if we hop over here, we look at black decks in general. Next format, we got 47 of them. And if we are running Shinegreymon promo, that is P-033. You'll see it's used in basically half the black decks. If you're running Antibody, you're running Shinegreymon promo. So if you're planning to play X Antibody, you better have these promos. They're just part of the deck, and they're going to go up with Alphamon going up as well. They just kind of pair together. Moving on, Greymons. The alt art spiked. People are hyped for the Greymon deck coming out in, I think it's BT8. The regular secret is $12, guys. Like, this is lagging behind in price compared to the alt art. The alt art will dip again before the set comes out. We got whiles until it sees competitive play, but the secret itself, I think, is worth picking up at $12. That is a dirt cheap secret that does see play in its respective deck. Now moving on, we've gone through our future formats. Now cards that have had big spikes and jumps in prices lately. The box topper 1 year Upamon. It went from 15 to like 25-ish here. Because you gotta count the shipping, it's roughly 25. It's like the premium blue egg that you will run for future formats. It's the max rarity. It was underpriced at $15. It wasn't that big of a jump. But if you look ahead to the Vmon, this sucker spiked to $50 earlier this last week. And he's roughly 38 right now. He was definitely underpriced at $15. Because you got the Magnamon stuff with the armor evolutions. I believe he's a big part of that. And Imperial's also getting hype again with the EX set coming out, the new Imperial, and the line in general just getting better. He's still going to be a core card in those decks, though. So this is a card that I think is a lot closer to its corrected price in the market, and you can see copies are moving for around the $40-ish price, so it's pretty fair to say this is where I can kind of see it settling for a bit. Now, kind of interesting, with the Blue Star deck coming out, this card actually kind of hit up a big price jump. It's roughly $10 now. If you saw last week, it was roughly $3. Now that you have the new Vmon Warp Package stuff, and you can go into this old force other than the starter deck one, this is your better one to warp into. It's just going up in price. If you have extra copies, now's a good time to list them. I don't see this card really seeing high tier 1 play, and for $10, I am moving my extra copies. Now pointing out to some high dollar cards. If you guys remember, last week, I didn't show it, but this was a $300 card. The last few $300 listings were bought up literally this last week. 300s, and now, because there's not many of them in circulation, they stopped printing these pretty early on. There's not many in the market. You got 600, you got 4 of them here, so it'll hold for a little bit, unless someone else lists their copies. But then it's going to spike up to basically 1K, and then it's to the moon after that. So make sure if you're a collector, you don't want to wait on this card. They're not printing it anymore at the moment. You got the trophy cards, but it's not the same thing, and those are encased. Like, if you want to, you could play this in the deck. But this is like a trophy, basically, too. Make sure you have your copy of this if you're a long-term collector that wants to have a master set of all Digimon cards. Now, cards that have started to drop a lot more in price. If you guys haven't noticed, you're not seeing the $150 Hammer Sparks. You're not seeing the $80 Gaia Force. You're not seeing $75 Kakaida's Breaths. Like, all the Tamer Evolution box promos are dipping in price. Like, you can get some of the cheaper ones for, like, roughly $10 or less. Like, that's absolutely insane for how cheap it is. And in case you guys don't know why, Nationals announced there's going to be a printing of it. It has a final stamp on it. So this is going to be technically max rarity. But I do know a lot of people prefer just to see the art, and the stamp kind of gets in the way of it. Like, you have the stamp on the Melga. You have the stamp in Frunzudo. I think it's kind of ugly personally. But the arts are more available. So if you want to get them, I can see this going to, like, the Gaia Force, roughly $50. The Hammer Sparks, they're probably going to be pretty stable at their price. Like, I don't see it dipping below 90. It's very staple in a lot of blue decks now and in future formats. If you get the final stamp on it, I think it looks a little bit uglier, but people are kind of splitting it. So, out of curiosity, go ahead and drop a comment on which art you prefer with the stamp or without the stamp. So, and anyway, so moving on to our last thing I want to talk about, Promo Diaboromon. There is a lot of hype coming around again for him. With EX set coming out, more Diaboromon supports out. You got a new Karamon, Kurosarimon, Inframon line. And you got the decoy promo from the dash packs in BT6. So people are excited to try out the deck again. With this promo, it is your aggro, it is your way to close out games. So if you have extra copies and you don't want to play the deck, you might want to look at unloading these soon. $90 is the most I really see it going for, but we got quite a bit till we hit that price ceiling of $90 again. Anyway, guys, with that being said, that is my market watch for this week. It's awesome to see some cards come back in circulation a bit more. The cards that aren't, make sure you pick them up. Davis is such a niche printed card that has no alternate printing. Anyways, that being said, please comment, like, and subscribe if you like these videos. I appreciate feedback. And with that being said, have a happy New Year's, all. Take care.